Line number 4.
I don't know what that number was now. 1 second. Okay. What time? Shem Shem and 7 Atzliach. We're going to be Shem start with the Kavanot of Kriyat Hamitta. We don't have Sidurim for everybody. I can already see that my voice it's got a lag over here. I don't know if it's something to do with the internet, and the other Shem is the same. But Bezat Hashem, we will have in the future a choveret or something, that we can use. We can upload for the Shiurim. But today we want to really just get into the Kavanot. So we want to basically get into the order and understand the outside, from the outside, the system, the structure, how this is going to work. Okay? So there's a lot of things going on in Kriyat Hamitta which are added on as extras. When we say added on as extras, they came for particular reasons. So if you remember when we learned Shovavim, there was a man that went to Rav Chaim Vitim. He wanted a tikkun for Shazal, for Shek Azel Matara. He went to the Arei HaKadosh, and the Arei HaKadosh told him first he has to fast 84 days, right? And it wasn't during Shabbat. And then he fasted his 84 days. Then he came to Shabbat. He said, he must do another 40 for Shabbat, right? So then he did that. He said, Ashrecha, you did both these tikkunim of Pad and Mem Yom, which is the Shabbatim, which we explained before. And then he said, now you've got 11 more tikkunim to do. He said, every night when you say Kriyat Hamitta, I'll give you the day 1, you do this, day 2, you do this, 11 days, in other words, it would take to finish it. Right? So all that the Rashash put into the Siddur. But you start, it happens to be that the tikkun of day 1 is only when you get to your Shev B'Seterion. But I don't know, day 5 is before you start Kriyat Hamitta, right? So when you look at it, you see day 5 before you see day 1. It all looks like a whole lot of yichudim, and you don't know what, right? So what we want to do is take out the raw stuff and just see what is Kriyat Hamitta, what is the main thing we learned. So in the last couple of weeks, right, what we learned was we have to be mafkid our neshama in of the kachot. Right? When I say look of the kachot, what does that mean? It means the kachot is a different system to zona prati of shachrit mincha arvit. The zona prati of shachrit mincha arvit is called kelim pnimim in shachrit, which is on the third day. Actually, so you start with arvit, then mincha, and then shachrit. It takes 3 days to do that. We're not dealing with that now, right? We're dealing with the zivug which takes place in Nefrat Apayim. And the zivug Nefrat Apayim also takes 3 days to get to that stage. Right, but it's got not to do with what you did in Sim Shalom of Ish Tefillah. You with me? Because we mentioned this a lot of times, right? So now, if we just confirm that, eventually we'll see that even Sim Shalom Zivugim of Shachrim is actually connected to the Kachot. I'm saying that according to Rabbi Shaul, according to the way it took years of understanding to try and work this out. Other opinions, Rabbi Yaakov Hillel, for example, has got an opinion that the Kachot is to do with the Chagim. Remember we talked about Zun Agdolim, the Zun of the Zmanim, of the Regalim. The Zun Partuf Hayomi, Partuf Zmanim. So he holds that he got a few couple of rayot, he created a whole new system, and there are quite a few Rabbanim that have taken it on. As like Rav Futterman, it's got a whole introduction. So I realized this is his big chiddush in life, his biggest thing that he wrote a book about it years ago. I happened to be in the office in Avat Shalom and I saw it and I took it. And I went through it. It was very complicated. And then he printed it in Aven B'Chokhmah. And then Rav Futterman, he brought out his Siddur on Shabbat. And he asked Rav Hillel to write a Haskama, and he decided he's going to simplify this whole system, which is about 20 pages long. And he printed it all up, and he said it's the first Siddur in the world that's going to have it in. Rav Futterman Siddur, even he didn't print his own Siddur with all of it. I had it on the plane on the way back. And it's a very sophisticated system, which he has proven from various Girsaot. And that's another approach. But you see that the Chachamim from Bet El until now, to Rav Hillel, right, they didn't hold like that. And he himself, when he wrote Pe'at HaSadeh, which was he collected all the writings of Rav Chaim Tzedek HaKohen, Sadeh is Shaul Tzedek HaKohen. And when he already was still a Bachur, and he was learning in Rav Atiyah's yeshiva, his grandfather's yeshiva, Moidechai, he asked him, the Sabak Kadishah, Moidechai Atiyah Senior, who's not alive anymore, he asked him to take all his glosses and he put it at the back of the Otzrot Chaim. He says, and he's got like 30 whatever Haggaot over there, which then became like 2,000 Haggaot in the new version that came out. And in the introduction, he says all his greatness, Ravila says, came from bringing in the world the writings of Shaldwek HaKohen, because he was blind, so he couldn't write. So Chafka Chaim, Rabbi Yudaftaya was one of the people who wrote famous main Talmidim. And he had Rav Yaakov Munzer, Rav Amaravi, these were his main Talmidim, and they wrote some in the, not Gemara, in the Shah Kavanot or whatever, and they became printed into Pe'at. Then the introduction, when it comes to the Kachor, and this is how Rabbi Shaul explains it, but I've got another Pirush, have a look. I'm going to write about it one day, right? And we have it. But the way we're learning is that Rabbi Shaul more or less is the way that he learned it, right? And the Kachor and the Sim Shalom are connected. How they're connected, I don't want to go into it right now because you'll get all confused. We're going to try and keep it to the basics. But just in the mind to pay attention, actually, it's all part of one big system. And you do the little bits and you get to the bigger bits and they're all connected. Okay? And with this explanation, Baruch Hashem, all the different contradictions there are throughout many different books, it gets all resolved very nicely. And you can see in the Kerem Shlomo, that was a father of Moidechai Nissim in his book Kerem Shlomo, and he also explains it like this. So let's now carry on. So the Kachor is something that happens, it takes 3 days to get to Nefilat HaPayim, right? We're going to talk about today. It takes 3 days to get to Nefilat HaPayim. Now we're going to learn Kriyat Hamitta as a sugya of Kriyat Hamitta and how it connects to the other things. We'll come back to that later on. So let's now start from the beginning and be very clear and simple. The first day is called the Achor, the second day is called the Panim, and the third day is called the Zivug. Okay? In every tefillah, in every avodah, even in Mabeh Bracha, there's an Achor, except we call it Chitzon and Pnimi. So it's not exactly the same, but there's a Chitzon and Pnimi and then the Zivug, right? So but it's the same kind of system, okay? Not exactly the same, but there's a okay? So the first 24 hours, let's say it started last night, right? After Arvit, time of Arvit, Shkia, let's say, and it became the first Lail. So that day and that night, 24 hours, all the mochas of the Achor are being nimshach. They're all coming down. Even though we had nothing to do with it. It happened. Right? Happens b'meila by itself. We don't have to do anything for it. Right? It's automatic. So we chaparine, we come and join and keep onto the conveyor belt as we do the second day. Second night, Leil Sheni, Arvit. It'll be time for Arvit. Yeah. So now the Panim have to come. So we're going to cross over from Achor to Panim. Like we know from Milat Be'ava, we go from Achor to Panim. Yeah. Within one tefillah. So here it takes one whole day to do the Achor, and it happens through all the Hechalot, all by itself. All the bone came down. Achor is fixed. Come to second night. Now we have to do the Panim. Now it's got nothing to do with Arvit because this is Kriyat Hamitta. This is Kriyat Shaul. Understand? It's a different set of Birurim. Okay? So these Birurim, which we'll almost start referring at some point to Partzuf Chabad. Right? What that means, when you say Chabad, that means there was a Nine, there was a Chagat, right? But this is bad, right? Partzuf Chabad means Nefilat HaPayim. It's a code word. So this Partzuf Chabad of the Kachot, which days to get to, it takes to get to eventually, is now in its second day. First night was Achor, first day was Achor, all finished, now you come to the line. Second night you do Arvit, still in Achor, nothing happened yet.
Achor still.
Nothing happened yet. So, but we're not going to, we're supposed to be normal people, right? Not like me, right? Watching football games, I don't know what, right? Very, very important things in the world.
What you said, he goes to sleep.
Even if went to bed, he gives you can see in the writings after Chatzot that happened, right? So the point is, though, is that if a normal person would be like a alarm clock, his body would be like the alarm clock of the world, he's supposed to go to it. We learned it last week. He's supposed to go to sleep because it's when your body needs sleep. You have Hashem with that sleep because that's the Dor Mitah. That's the Pel Elohim, Hashem Elohim Tadim Al Adam. And the bed to sleep, the lie. It's when you get the most out of it. In fact, you must sleep 3 hours after Arvit because the Mochin is still, so to speak, alive. Chasadim Mishonim. Right? And then we go to sleep. Okay? So that means when you go to sleep, you're probably going to sleep more than a couple of hours. It's going to pass Chatzot. So you're not going to be awake I don't want the want of a better word when you what's that word? The transmission, whatever that doesn't matter. Not a good word today. People transition, yeah, transition from achot to panim, a normal word. Now even that can't even talk about gears in your automatic box anymore, right? So when the transmission takes place to the panim, yeah, so and we're not going to be awake. And we have to do the tikkun because of the kavanot and the siddur. So when do we do it? Before we go to sleep. But really, when we see the kavanot say, when you say this happens, this happens, that happens, and as far as we're concerned, it's happening, but not because we need to make it happen. But really, it's only going to happen in chatzor. Right?
How do we know where we are on the cycle?
How do you know?
Okay, today, for example.
You know, can't see. Look outside. You can see.
No.
Every day, every day is all three.
Yeah, every day.
What's one? The different mishpachot. You got mishpacha, right? Forgot your name now.
We start with the whole,
Yeah,
then panim,
yeah,
then zivug.
yeah.
That's the third day. That is
Yeah,
where the
yeah,
second
yeah.
finishes.
So one part is going to be in the next one started yesterday and it's going to be in the second. Then one started 3 days ago, it's going to be in the third day. And they're all happening concurrently. Parallel. In parallel.
Okay.
Yeah, even if you take today of the Shachrit Mincha Arvit, so the Shachrit was in the third day already, because the Tikkun of Shachrit is always in the third day, because before you have to have a Mincha Arvit, because you can't do Kilim first, because do it last. Started 3 days ago. But it was also a Mincha that we did today, which is the second day in the Arvit, which we did last night, was in the third day, it was first day. Yeah. And this is how it works. Choser Chalila. Yeah. So when we're talking like the Kriyat Shema that we're doing, whenever we're doing that one, it's only for one of those three things. It can't be for all of them because there's only one Kriyat Shema of that night. Yeah. Now of the family patzuf that started yesterday in not tonight. Let's say now we're in Kriyat Shema Hamitta. That means it's very dark outside. So they really prayed Arvit. Yeah. So there wasn't this Arvit. The Arvit of the night before would have been when it started. That would be the Achor all the way to Kriyat Shema Hamitta. Kriyat Shema Hamitta, we are going to do some Kavanot, and in those Kavanot, right, there'll be three things. First of all, there'll be a Nesirah, right? The Nesirah means you have to separate Zah from Nuk, right? But at the same time the Nesirah takes place, he has to give her Kli Berucha, which is the main really, if you ask any Mekubal, what's Kriyat Shema Hamitta? Kli Berucha. Zivug Kli Berucha. And maybe I want to concentrate on. Right? But what is Zivug Kli Berucha? I mentioned it a few times. We've got to explain a bit more what Kli Berucha is. Okay? But the ikar of understanding Kriyat Shema Hamitta, what I have to do, meaning if you're not going to do all the yichudim that the Ari gave to that man, and you're not going to do all the extra things about your neshama, getting all kinds of benefits and destroying all the ruchot, the gufim timeim of the mazikin that was nivra from Shazal, which is not what Kriyat Shema Hamitta is really for. That's only a side benefit, a byproduct. The ikar of Kriyat Shema Hamitta is for Zah to give Nuk the Kli Berucha, so she can have children. Because if he doesn't give her the Kli Berucha, she can't have children. It's a livush that a man gives to his wife that he got from his mother, all the way up to Adam, who gave it to Chava, and she gave it to kind of Hevel, and it carries on like that in all the generations. And that livush of the Kli Berucha has in it the number of children that this man can have with this woman, with Zah can have with Nuk. Yeah, but when you talk about the ulama, Zah Nuk, they always only have twins, a girl and a boy. So they always only two things. It doesn't matter for now. I'm saying like it's most things are almost identical to this one. It says in Yov, but sometimes there's things that are not exactly the same. It's kidugmata, but not exactly. It's how it should be in the perfect state. But in our world, things are not always accurate and perfect as they should be. You might have a boy, you might have a girl, you might have 7 children in one go. It's how it works. So now, come back to what we're saying. So there's 3 things we said. Number 1 is the Kli Berucha. Let's say that's first, right? Then the Nesirah. What's the Nesirah? So we said you've got Gvil, which is a piece of parchment, and you rip it apart and it becomes Klaf V'Duchsustus. And that's the Zachar and the Nekeva. So before they were showing one body and had one back, and they were back to back. Again, do the film. And then Chovakedim Sartani. That means you had a face this way and a face the other way, and together they were called Adam. There's no Adama. There's no female Adam. Adam means both together. When he split them up, then it was Ish ve'Isha. Right? There's no female equivalent of there was a female, Plonit, right? And she was taken away. But the Chava is made from Adam, right? Mitzvah, from Tzela Shalom. So now, when that happens, it's called a Nesira. It's like taking a saw and sawing them and Nenaser otam, like we do Rosh Hashanah, until she becomes a separate goof and he becomes a separate goof. And her goof came from him. Yeah. And then they get mochin. Yeah. So again, so the three things are we go from Achor, we go from the Kli Berucha, Zivuk Berucha, then the Nesira. Because after the Zivuk Kli Berucha, they come back down, it's still B'Achor. Then is the Nesira. And then you bring the Panim. And the Panim already begins in Baruch Shem for Malchut Olam V'ed. But the main avodah of the Panim takes another 24 hours to finish it. You'll see it in the Birkot HaShachar. So now if you want to know the Kavanot Birkot HaShachar, the Kavanot Birkot HaShachar is in the second day, second Shacharit of day 2. In the Kachaot. It's not to do with, when we learned until now, we said there is a tikkun in each bracha of Kriyat Shema Hamitta, of Birkat HaShachar, which is in the Arba Ma'asim, if you remember, about the Arba Ma'asim, Yifnei ve'yitol, and then Talit and Tefillin. So Yifnei ve'yitol, the Brach Asher Yatzar, includes all the Chai brachot, because there's sirufim of Eli, Aleph Lamed Yud, which is Shemot of the Chitzoniyot HaOlamot, of those Kelim of Asiyah. That aspect of Birkat HaShachar is in the Kelim Pnimim of Shacharit. That is. But the big bracha, Ma'avir Chevla, which is Makbil to Kriyat Shema Hamitta, Mapil Shena, and Ma'amir Chevla, are two brachot which actually carry on one from the other. One extends from the other. That is not to do with the Shacharit, right? That's to do with the 3-day Kachot. Yeah? Because it talks about L'avchin ben Yom or ben Laila. Yeah, that Yom or ben Laila is very important, right? This Siddur over here actually has the Birkot HaShachar in it.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can see in Birkot HaShachar the sirufim of Eli. Every letter is Aleph Lamed Yud, Aleph Lamed Yud. When you get to over here, I'm over here up in the right place. This is Za and Nok, different Shemot. You see Za and Nok, the Yom, Midat Yom and Midat Laila. That's Midat Yom, Midat Laila. That is the Midat Yom and Midat Laila of the second day. That you go from one to the other, and that's Hanoten Sachvi Bina. He's so clever. He knows what Kachah is. This chicken that's cockadoodling in the morning is so clever that he knows L'avchin ben Yom, which is 12 hours of night and 12 hours of day. And that 12-hour period together makes one whole day. And that's a Kachah that goes in days rather than splitting up into one day into different parts of Shachrit Mincha Arvit. Understand? That's why that bracha, the Ari says, is Kachahot. It's a whole achlalut. The term used in the Rashash is that you got Zuna Prati. Zuna Prati means Shachrit Mincha Arvit. Zun Dechlalut Kol HaKachahot is what it says in Nahar Shalom. Dechlalut. So from now on, because I'm saying people use this and I don't know if they know themselves what they're referring to. They just say Kachahot, because they see it written down in the Leit Achronim, right, the Mefarshim. But the distinction is between Zuna Prati and Zun Dechlalut. And this is different to the Zun of a Gedolim, which is another avodah, which is on Shabbat. When you finish your whole week in Musaf, there's a zivug that takes place in the Keter, and that's take a whole week to get to that stage. You also aliyot till Zanuk at the same level, and then have a zivug. It takes a whole week to get there. That's called Zun Gidolim. That's to do with parts of Hayomi, but only after a whole week. That's something else. And then we said there's also the Zun of Patzufa Zmanim, which is to do with the Chagim. So that's what we need to know for now. And there's also, we said, another family of Taryag Mitzvot. There's mochin that come from that, right? Most hold like that. Just to keep it into a structure, we can see all the different things. But we're interested only right now in the Kachahot. And the Kachahot, right? The first 24 hours is all Achor. Then you get to Kriyat Shema Hamitta, and somewhere in those words, there's magic 6 words of Shema Yisrael, and another 6 words of Baruch Shem Malchut Olam V'ed. All this has to happen. But it doesn't really happen. That happens in Chatzot. Right? So the Chiddush is we do it there, right? We go from Kli Berucha, which is the Ikar of the whole Avodah. It's called the Zivug. In other words, in the whole of Kriyat Shema Hamitta, there's only one major Zivug. And that Zivug is not a regular Zivug like which is going to be in Nefilat Apayim in the 3rd day. This is Zivug, which is the first stage of let's say of the entire Tahalich of a Chatan and a Kala. So let's concentrate on that for a second. In Sha'ar Zivugim, it talks about there's a whole process of Nishikin, Chibukim, and Zivugim. Nishuk, Chibuk, Nishuk, and Zivug is Ayesodot. That means Nishuk is in above, is in Chabad. Right? And we explain the Nishikin actually is inside the person himself, between the Chech and the Garon. But there's an idea of a male and female Nishuk to do with the mouth, right? Right? So that's in the Chabad. So that's a kind of a zivug that only involves this part of the body, right? And then there's the chibuk. Yes, Shem molotachat eroshi, if you know Sukkot, Yamim Norim. Ari says the left hand is Yamim Norim, it's dinim. You get to Sukkot, then it's the chagim of love, of ches, all the chasadim come down, all the basically the Hamisha chasadim that come down, the makifim and the all different bechinot that come down during the love, betrog, and then the sukkah. So all that level is called v'imino chabekeni. That's why the Ari says that the v'imino chabekeni is like a sukkah. You can have two full walls and a little more makes into a sukkah. Yeah, therefore. So that all idea of all of that, all right, is the zivug of chibuk, of chagat. Right, and then this is the ikar zivug, which brings children into the world, brings molid leholada, on the lashon of the Ari is the tipat hazarit, the tipat hazarit of the olamot of Zok. Yeah, so he has to give his tipa, and she has to also take up her tipa, man and mad, and together and there's a lad on a lad, and that all happens in Ba'ed of Va'ed. Now the only thing is, it says in so many places in Arizal, you can't just jump into a zivug. There has to be chibukim and nishukim before and after. There's 12 different types of nishukim, and there's a whole big order, right? Until eventually you get to the final zivug is leholada. But bekitzur, bechlalut, there's two zivugim. There's zivug kadma'a, which is called nishikin, and there's zivug the yesodot, leholada. Zivug kadma'a is a zivug, right? Hahu rucha deshavig labala. And Adam, Elisha created with Elemisha asa'a keli. Whoever made it into the kli the first time, that's called the zivug rishon of hers, right? She makes a brit with them. She always remembers them. It's the same. It's the same thing with every husband and wife. The first time they're together, there's something cool that he doesn't. What he gives over to her is not meant to make her pregnant. It can happen sometimes, but usually it's not to make them. That's why Rashi says that Avotenu Kedoshim, they were ma'ech with the etzba. They broke the betulim so they should get pregnant the first time. And that avodah, breaking the betulim, is connected to the. He can give her this special levush called kli berucha. This Kli Barucha has got many later important we're not going to learn right now. So, for example, when we have to send up our neshamot back to the Shoresh and take up the Birurim, and we go to Kever of a Tzaddik, and you have to, or neshama with the Tzaddiks want to take up the Birurim, have a power to go somewhere. What right have we got to go up there? And the answer, because we came from there. Which aspect of us came from there? When the male gave the Shabik Labala, that's the Shorish of Neshama as well, comes from there. The Livushim that are passed down, eventually we have a chelek of it. And that's why we can go back to our that means that's the Shorish Neshama. When we talk about Shorish Makom Milyon, there's a Shorish Neshama. It means that just like Zun came from Abba Ve'ima, our Neshama comes from Abba and our Neshama from Abba. So we can go back there. Question is how to get there, but we have to go back there because we came from there. Zun also came from there, right? Zanuk came from their parents, Abba Vima. And our Ruach HaNefesh comes from Zanuk. Right? So we got 4 different parts that go to 4 different places. Yeah, that's called the Shorish of the Neshama. In Atzilut and also in Bria and Yetzirah and Asiyah and all these different places. So now, what we are learning now is that when you get to Kriyat Hamitta, we've got a job of called the Zivug Kadma'a. And we're not going to get to the actual Zivug of the Tipa. We're only going to do the first stage, which is called the Abba gives the Kli Rucha to Ima, and then Zah gives the Kli Rucha to Nuk, and then we can go to sleep. And in order to do that Zivug of Zah giving his Kli Rucha Zivug, and it works in the same way The only difference is we don't have to do certain things like certain types of Abba Mitzvot Bedin, like Kiddush Hashem or there's certain things that you have to do in Nefrat Apayim that you don't have to do in this particular zivug. So actually, it's very easy. Kriyat Shema Mitzvah is a very simple thing. Say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, and then Baruch Shem Le'olam Va'ed. Le'olam Va'ed. Le'ol means to take up, and there's a mem. Le'olam, the mem, that's the rechem of Nuk. And we have to put we have to zast to give the kli rucha in the rechem of Nuk to make that Nuk. That you have to make kli that rucha that he gives her actually becomes the rechem. There's a kli yesod. There's the rechem, and there's a ruach. It's called the rucha. Rucha that shavik la ba'ala. It's got a kli and it's got a rucha that goes with it, and she gets it. Leolam, but you mustn't do it in the word leolam because it's dangerous. If you do that, then you might end up having these certain neshama left in limbo. So you have to do it when you say va'ed, but they go together. You have to say leolam va'ed and then do it. Right. So that's where it happens. And there's one very, very complicated page in Siddur, which has got everything that's going on in it in that page. And then we have to go back and work backwards to the build up to it, which we want to look at today, Bezrat Shem. Right? So when that happens, when we do the zivug of the kli barucha, when it actually happens, Zag gives, meaning there's Abba to Ima, and then Ima gives it, and then Zag gives it to Nuk. That's the Ikar Hamitta. Then straight after that, there's the Nesirah, and then you switch over to the Panim already, and you carry after that, and it carries on from there.
If it actually happens at Chatzot, is there not a ma'ala in waiting for Chatzot to say that it's actually happening?
That's what the Torah Chacham actually says, that if you do the Kriyat Shema Mitzvah literally just before Chatzot is the best time to do it. There's a ma'ala doing it. Because we're literally skimming the surface, right? There's another whole system. I'll drive you crazy. There's another system. That the Kacha'ot itself has 6-hour periods. So you have to break it down to six. It's called Ben de Ben, Ma de Ben, Ben de Ma, Ma de Ma. It's like you have to break that down. And the Shem and Sason, he's Mesupak. If that's the same as Kriyat or Shachrim in Chanarvi, that's the same thing or not. Could be they're two separate things. So there's a whole other order, which happens also in Sim Shalom then, because it's not in Kriyat Shema because you've got to break it down into 4 parts. Happens in 4 different parts of the day. So we don't have to come on to that right now. Let's best take that out for now because it's just going to confuse everything, right? If it is, then it happens and it happens by itself. And if it's not, then we already did it in our written Shachrim and Charvi, right? Okay. But the Kad Sha'ot itself is what we have to understand is that this is only the Zivug Kadma'a. It's only the first stage. The real Zivug will be exactly the same, but it won't be the Kli Barucha, it'll be the Tipa, the Zarit, and it'll be in the Nefilat HaPayim tomorrow. Understand? That's what happens. So the real avodah is in Nefilat HaPayim. But Kriyat Shema Mitzvah is so important that it's the first time we're going into the Rechem and all the secrets of the Zera Bala that can be fixed. It says in Shiur HaKodesh, if you do all the tikkunim of Shovavim and all the pardon and everything, you have fixed it. All you've done is stop the blemishes in the neshama because you be able to avoid Gehinnom. But at the end of the day, actually taking the tipa and bringing it back is only Kriyat Mitzvah. As a koach, you can argue, well, why not do that in Nefilat HaPayim as well? Doesn't say any way to do that, right? The koach of it is in the Zivug Kadma'a to bring it back because you can't just skip past that. So that's when the Zerabat has to go through that order. What does it mean? We look at ourselves and think, if a person Chas v'Shalom did an avira, so something physical was wasted. Yeah? It went with the vatala. It went into nothing. It should have been a child, and it got wasted into the atmosphere. Right? It's never coming back. You're not going to go and collect it and bring it back. It's gone, right? But in the Ruchaniyut, it caused the Zaha Elyon to be Motzi Zera into the Klipot. We have to bring that Shefa back because it's in the wrong place. That's what we're talking about. So we have to bring that Zera back into Nuk. So first we have to bring it back to Zah, and we have to take out the Klipot, which were the Mazikin that were created, that are going around making all these families have machalokets and problems and arguments and all the problems we have with Rabot over all the Klal Yisrael, because these Mazikim are running around and they're making problems, right? So when they get destroyed, then you take the guf and you destroy it. So we'll see that when you say there's this special, it's called a Rayu Ha'elyon, the Rayu of Tachton, and you smash them up, right? And then you can bring them back in those tipot, can go into Zah, and then you can give it to Nuk, as we are making the mem of the Olam Va'ed at the same time. That's not really what Kriyat Hamitta was meant for. Right? That's only an amazing, opportunity that you can use. But the main purpose of Kriyat Hamitta is Ahu Rucha Deshavik Labala. Asher Zerek Margulis, Allah Shalom wrote Sefer Kumbi Baroni on Tikkun Chatzor. He was a big Chacham Ashkenaz. He lived in Yerushalayim. He was the Tamir of the Saba Kadisha of the what do you call it from Turkey, from Hungary, and he became a Tamir of Shaul Dweck Cohen, and he wrote a Sefer for Chatanim. He was very big in many areas of halakha, and then he says every chatan should be told the night when he's going to be with his wife, he's giving her the rucha of how many children they're going to have together, and it really makes the power of that experience. Like, I told my children, they told me that they told their chaverim, and then we saw it in this book that he wrote. So it's a very it's a very important thing that happens every night when we say Kriyat Hamitta. So that's what we're talking about. And if we try and look into the Siddur, right? So just bear that in mind. Now, they're looking for three things. We're looking in all this enmeshment of Kavanot. We're looking for three things: Hahurucha, when Zag gives it to Nuk, and when the panim start to come. Right, which will carry on for another 24 hours until we finish the second day. Then there'll be an Arvit, a Mincha, and then we'll get to a Shachrit. So it'll be an Arvit, then there'll be a Shachrit in the third day. And then that Nefilat HaPeim is where we're going to do the real Zivug. And this whole process then will come to the culmination of the Tipa of the Nolad. Yeah? Yeah? That's another shiur. If you don't, you don't. If you do, you do. Some things are dangerous, but some things are allowed. The zivug for sure is allowed. It's only going to the klipot that's the problem. So, whichever siddur you've got, look for the first Shem Yichud and see if you can find it. Right? You'll first you'll find there's a Maaseh Merkava. Then you'll see there's. Right? Let's just do it together. Everyone, I'll try and use it for the camera as well. So first of all, we've got, if you've got Rav Shmueli's version, so you'll see there's knowing what day it is in the Kabbalistic calendar, so, like we do before Shachrit. And then you've got the Kavanot Merkava, which you always have. And then you've got Yichud Alafim, which is to get rid of dinim. And then you've got Nivuv Luchot. This is Lel Bet, Lel Gimel, Lel Dalid, Lel Hey, Lel Vav, 6 different nights of it, and Shabbat, right? And then you got L'Shem Yichud, right? Start with L'Shem Yichud. And then you've got another Zivug of Ta, Guts. So we've got past that, all the names of all the Klipot. And then you've got a Zivug, Yichud Bet is called of the 130 Sirufim of Elokim, which gets rid of 220 Sirufim of Elokim, which gets rid of Letzanut. And as we keep on going, then there's another one, and then there's Zechor, and then eventually you'll get to another Shem Yichud before Baruch HaMapil. Okay. So our first question is, when we say Baruch HaMapil, there's a bracha. Bracha is matbeh bracha. And you get to Melech HaOlam, you're going to have birurim. Now, if we're talking about Katsha'ot, we've already done the birurim. We did the Achor. We didn't do it, but it happened a day ago. And there's going to be birurim of the panim, not over here, somewhere else, when you get to Shema. So what's this bracha? What's the birurim of this bracha? Okay, so we have to answer that at some point. I'm not dealing with that right now. Okay, but you see there's another thing at work here as well. Okay, it'll be what's called ben de ben, but we don't need to go into it right now. We do the bracha, Baruch. If you do like the minhag of the Sfaradim pre this generation, then you don't say Ata Hashem Elokeinu, just mechaven it in your head, and all this special kavanot. And then we come to the word Hamapil. Okay, so then the word Hamapil, if you've got those little books and you're doing over here, you'll see it's complicated, but there's another version later on which is for Shabbat or Rosh Chodesh, and it leaves out the complicated bit. So in the word Hamapil, you see there's an Ab. Hamapil, and then there's Ab, Shem Ab. See the Ab? That's it. That's it. You see the Ab? Right. Everything under the Ab is what he told that man to do on a certain night. It's extra, right? When it says "V'chavli gimel havod mishulavim," you see all this naron business, right? That's all to do with the nitzi. Rabotai, when this man finished all this shovavim and all this tikkunim, he had certain amount of neshamot still had to be saved, and so here it talks about saving certain numbers of neshamot, and this was special kavanah. At this point, he could save it, but we don't need that right now. All we need is the word hamapil. It's v'chaven Shem Ab Shu Arich. What's going on in this bracha? Right? It's a machloke if it happens here or it happens in Shema. Is this the Ikar or Shema is the Ikar? It doesn't matter. It could be a remez, it could be it's really happening. But what we're doing here now is we're starting the Tardema. Right? Originally, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, right, he had to make Adam go to sleep. Right? And there was what's called the Nefilah of the Olamot, which fell down into the Klipot. So some of it affected the Keter, which is called Arich. Some affected Abba Ve'ima, and the rest affected Zun, which was a Sheva Melachim. Right? So Sheva Melachim completely fell into the Klipot, right? But Abba Ve'ima only the Achoraim, and the Keter only a certain part is called Nifgal. Okay? So everything is involved. Here too, similar to that, everything's involved. In order for Zah to go to sleep, Arich says, right, I've had enough, day's over, I'm going to sleep. It goes away. Affects Abba Ve'ima. Abba Ve'ima affects Yasu. Yasu affects Zah. Zah affects Nuk, and everything. Eventually, what happens is that Zah completely loses everything, and Nuk gets everything. So the first stage is showing you over here. We'll come back to it. Shem Ab. That's it, right? Shehu Arich. Shehu Amapil. He's the one that's causing Zah to go to sleep. How? By taking away, being misalek, right? Then you turn the page. And we go to Einai, Al Einai, and we only need one line. It says, Gam Yechaven Arich Silek He'erato Misag. Arich was removed his He'era from the Sag. Shu Abba Ve'ima V'yasut Yom Shavar, which is yesterday's Abba Ve'ima and Yasut. So you see Shem Sag in the middle of the page, right? That's what you need, that Sag. Everything else is to do with the other Yichudim, right? Don't need it. So we make B'ezrat Hashem a sheet, and we'll only put this in it. Yeah, in the middle, yeah, this one. This one here. Right? That one. See it? Everyone sees it? Yeah. We turn the page, number 3. In the middle of the words Alaf Apai, you turn the page, and you see on the top of the page, Ama, right? Kavanot hu de Kachaot, and it says Gam Yechaven ki Arich Abba Ve'ima Yasu Silku. So first Arich from Abba Ve'ima and Yasu. Now all of them from Zah. This is the basic when he goes to sleep. The Yom Shavar Mistalkim Mochim Imenu. V'gam Zah Shuma Hanal Silek Hashgachato Me'anuk. He took it away from Nuk. When Ma'atash became like a little dot. Last week, remember Shah Kavanot, we don't just call it Nekudash or a sheet. We learned it last week. V'chazal nekudah be'achorav. This is nekudah it's talking about. V'chozer mistalkim akri deman dila shu ahur uchad shadei gabava zah bebi harishona. Right. So that's talking about the kli v'uchad that she had from yesterday. She loses that as well. And then it says umi yishubat. And now the chidush is everything from Arich goes all straight to Nuk, and Zah has got nothing. He's asleep. Right. Umi yishubat yishan bat ayin. Who's the bat ayin? That's Nuk. Shehi nekudat Nuk. ובונה ומגדיל פרצופה באחוריו, ונוסרה ומביאה לפניו. So in this wording, you've done in this year, I've done everything, right? חוזר ובונה ומגדיל פרצופה לפני זה, ומחזיר שם בן שבא לאב. So basically, her ben becomes Ab. That's the Kavanot. So in this whole bracha, you only have to do is Arich. It has to be Mesalek. Then Sag is from Abba Ve'ima and Yasu. And then Ma is from Zah. And then Nuk is Ben, and she gets the Ab, she gets everything. That's the bracha. That's all you need bracha. So this bracha was nitkan by the Anshe Knesset HaGedolah to describe the process of the zivug of the ha'urucha, even though you don't see ha'urucha really into these kavanot, but meaning it's just following the order that takes away the achor and the nesir until the nesira. Okay, so we just done the whole bracha in one go. Now I'm going to go through the Shema and slowly explain you what it is until we get the bit that we need. So you don't need, the bits we're doing now we don't need. The word Shema, we know is always Shefach Chitzon. right? The question is, which Sheva Chitzon is it? We've already done Arvit. We've already done Shema and Arvit. What do we need another Shema for? Right? Ha'urucha is only going to be when you get to Leolam Va'ed. So what are we doing in Shema? So the answer is there's another parts of Kol Ben de Ben, and we have to work with that as well. And all these Kavanot you do over here, like you would do in Arvit, until you get to before Hashem Lokeinu Hashem. Right? After Israel, top of the page, this is what I call Tachana Rishona, the first station, first stop in the route, right? So before you say the word Hashem, it says, you have to give them 3 types of Shefa. Okay? And that's really where we're starting the whole story of the Kachaot. Okay? So the 3 minute Shefa, at the bottom of the page, you see there's an Ab, and an Ab, 3 Abs. Yeah? Abavim and Kolelim, the Kachaot. These are the 3 Shefas that they have to get. Second station now carries on the next page. So the Ikar of the Kavanah if it's a Tipa, then it's a Tipa. If it's a Kli V'rucha, it's a Kli V'rucha. But it's the same Kavanah. It's 3 Abs, Gematria Rayu, and the Chamisha Chasadim. In this case, the Chamisha Gerot, because it's the Kli V'rucha. When it's the Tipa of the Avlad and Olad in Shachrit of Nislat Apam, it will be Chasadim. But here is Gurot. Yeah, this when you look at this and you're used to doing this, you know this is the Kli V'rucha that we're talking about. Okay, so it comes from Abba Ve'ima now, because they got it already there was 3 Abs before from Arich, and it comes down. Then there's a zivug of Trei Mazalin, because in Abba Ve'ima remember it's not Tevin Akeh, number 8, number 13 of the Tikkun Dikna. So that's the Tikkun Dikna. They have to be mezaveg them, so Abba can give it over to Ima. And then it comes down the Rayu and the Hegvorot. And at the end of this Kavanah, it says, Lekach bad de Abba. So at the moment, where are we holding? That the Kli V'rucha that came down from Arich is in Kachbad de Abba. We didn't get to Ima yet. Yeah? Then we turn the page, we say Echad. And we keep on going. A couple of pages. And we get to the part in Ima, in Mechad, where we've done Absag De'ak, and we brought down already Adam Mochin of Panim, but that's all this is nothing to do with Kachaot. This is all to do with that Ben de Ben that we talked about before. None of this is Kachaot. Right? And then you get to the point where there's this book of Abba Ve'ima of that Ben de Ben, which we're not talking about today, right? So when you deal with Abba Ve'ima and there's Zivug, that's where Abba will give the Kli V'rucha to Ima. Right? And that's over here. You see now the 3 Abs at the bottom of the page and the Chamishan Gevurot. That is basically the Kli V'rucha. It's called the Rayu HaElyon, because now Abba gave it to Ima and she has it. Now we know that eventually has to end up in Zah, and you don't see the Siddur where it goes to Zah, so many hold that it goes to Zah already over here. So Zah already got it over here. Because otherwise there's going to be a missing link. Okay? So when you get to this part of Echad, Zah received it. Okay? If we keep on going now until we now finish Echad, we do Baruch Shem Kol Malchuto. So before you do the word Malchuto, next page. Before Malchuto, go back. In your book, it's a different version now. They changed it. The bottom of the page, it says Zun according to Kachaot. Right? So now here you can see there's something called Ab Kedem. This Ab Kedem is the Kavanah of the Kli V'rucha. Let's read it. V'lamshich midati shel harayu atachton. That means the middle calf of the Rayu Atachton. The Rayu Atachton means the one that Zah is going to give to Nuk. When it was Abba to Ima, it was 3 Abs, which is Rayu, and Chamisha Guro. Right? Argues 120 because it's Chamisha Havayot. Okay? But the point is, right? The point is, Rabotai, is that the name of the Rayu Tachton, which Zah gives to Nuk, is a different name to the one that Abba gives to Ima. Here it's going to be Ab Kedem. And even if you look in Shachrit and Milat Be'ava, you'll see it's Ab Kedem. It's the same. Whenever Zah gives Nuk, it was called the Rayu Atachton, the Kli V'rucha, is Ab Kedem. So here you can see, Le'amshik bidati shel Rayu Atachton, shebidati de Chabad de Zah. That's where it is, in his dart, in the dart of the Chabad. The dart of Chabad de Nuk. So it's going to be in stages, right? He wants to give it to Nuk, but only one part of it, which is this higher part. And then so right, really, he's being me'ir something over to her, but the actual kli itself hasn't been given yet. It's just he'arot. It's starting the process of Zah giving it over to Nuk. Then we go to the next page, it says Le'olam. And this is actually where we have to take up our own neshama with the Zera Levatala business and all these all extra things to do here. But let's just read what it says. So this is where we have to send our neshama for the night. We're going to sleep, right? So we have to say, right? This is really the place where we have to mechaven to send our neshama up with the birurim. La'alot Shem man, to take up man. Then we have to be man, not the name man. La'alot Sham man. Letzorch zivug zeh Zah ve'ima, for the zivug of Zah to give the kli v'rucha. Now the kli v'rucha that we're showing, the abkedem, is what's coming down from above. But Nuk also sends something up. We said the birurim for that kli that comes from what we send up. So we have to take that up. And if we don't take it up, it won't be done. That's the man. Lated bak hakli betevat leolam va'ed. See, it doesn't say leolam, but va'ed, right? Because can't do all in one go. There's a certain danger, a problem if we do it all in the word leolam, because it could be that the tipot will get stuck and they'll never get fixed. Then we say leolam va'ed. That's now where everything's going to happen. So we've got to turn the page and it gets busy. Okay. So again, we're just doing an overview over here, right? The first thing is, now I'm calling this Tachana Shishit. The last one was the fifth Tachana, if we're counting them. This would be the sixth one. And the first thing is the Nesira. Lechaven u'letaken ha'kli denuk. What's the kli denuk? That's the rechem. The zuna calling the kachaot, the yom shavar, the yom b'chol shavua. Lechaven bichlalut, bebeit tevot leolam va'ed, linsor et zun, to split them up. So you can put a box around that when you get your own siddur. Linsor et zun, this is the nesira. Okay? Ha'omdim b'mkomam achor be'achor. In other words, we finished with the achor. It's all chalas, gone. Chalaf halach lo, no more achor. Right? Nesira, they come back down, they start achor, and that's the end of it. Now, when you send them up to Abba ve'ima, now the truth is, when they come back down, they'll still be achor be'achor. Because in the kli v'rucha has to happen when Zah and Nuk are still be'achor. That's how it worked, right? Because the real zivug will be when they're panim to make a child. So this zivug, to give her the kli, is a miracle, right? Maybe the Notzrim took it from here. Right? There's a I don't want to even use the word, but if you know what I'm talking about, right? There's a conception to took place without an act, because Zah and Nuk they're not possible. They can't have a baby. They're fixing it in the wrong way. What happens is they go back up to Shemaim, to Abba ve'ima. Imagine in the chuppah, when the chassan and kala are getting married, there's a chuppah, and that chuppah is called hechal Abba ve'ima. And Zah takes over Abba's body, Nuk takes over Ima's body, and they make a zivug, and that's how he gives her the kli v'rucha. So they call panim bepanim l'sha'ato. Just at that time, they call panim bepanim, but really it's Abba ve'ima who's panim bepanim, not them. And then they come back down, and she already has the kli v'rucha. You understand what we're saying? Is that this kli v'rucha, we know, it says in Shali Kutim that a woman's period and a woman's chiyut comes from this kli v'rucha. Without it, she can't live. When Rachel gave hers to Binyamin, she died, right? So the question is, how did she have a period and live before she met her husband, right? So the Mepharshim explained it happened in Gan Eden before they came in the world. You understand? It happened up there. Like in the wedding, they're not going to have a child yet. They're only in the chuppah. He's already giving the kli v'rucha in the chuppah. There's a kavanot during the chuppah that he's being in the nisuim when he gives the ring. There's a zivug. Puts the ring on the finger. There's a zivug. That's what happens. And that's why you have to have a chuppah with a talit, because the Rashash says he's not paskening. There's 3-4 different people. What's nisuim, right? One says it's a yichud when they're together afterwards, right? The actual maaseh. Some say no, it's just the hinuma when you put it down. So the chuppah is koneh, right? They're all different shittot in halacha. What the chuppah is when it says koneh. Right? We say chuppah because we understand that's the word that you have a chuppah. But the real chuppah, which is connected, because Aisha Nikah B'Shlosha Drachim, B'Keshesh Tarabiyah. But that's the Kinyan Kiddushin. The Nisuin also needs a Kinyan, and that's chuppah. That's called Kol Yichud. Huh?
The Rashi.
What did I say about Rashi? That's talking about a woman who's going to have a second husband, and she's going to be closer to the husband. Yeah, it's connected, yeah. But the chiddush here is that they didn't even get married yet, and he's already giving her the kli barucha. Or they're just getting married now under the chuppah, right? So understand that the hechal Abba ve'ima is a concept where they have to go to a different existence. He has to give her the kli barucha and shemaim. She gets it, she now has it, and then they come back down, and they're still a chuppah. And then is the real nesira. Right? So here when it says Yechaven linsor otam, right? Yechaven bichlalut beit olam v'ed linsor et zun. It's a kavanah that is going to happen. It hasn't yet happened. It's going to happen. And in fact, if you take the seder and you take the seder which is milah be'ahava, you'll see it's different. Spent hours trying to word for word. It's like the way the nesira takes place here, where it takes place in the regular shachri, nechan arvi, the truth is the same order. It's just written differently. It doesn't matter, right? Okay.
What you're reading.
It should do, yeah. It'll be milat. We're now in milat leolam vaed. Yeah, it could be he tampered with it, Rabbarel. He has different ways. Okay, so now I'm going to jump and to the page that I want to do before we finish today. All these things that you're looking at, all these aleph bets, and you see two vavs. This is basically the building of the rechem. The rechem has to be built with two dalits, a vav vav and a yud, a vav vav and a yud. And that makes a mem. And inside, you have to have two lots of alphabets. And they are the Yetzirat Vlad, which takes 40 days. Vlad, the Yetzirat Vlad, takes 40 days. It's called the Yetzirah. And that all happens in one go over here, but it means 40 days. That's why it's mem, right? 40 days. Then you turn the page, and this is the main thing, right? This is Tachana Shmini, where the Nesira really takes place, right? The Atay Yechaven Lahalot Zuna Kolelim Hanizkarim Neel Lechol Bechina 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 Danal Lecheka Bavima. This is where they go up. The Bechina Danal Vikhu Amad VeAmad VeAbavim. I mean, they'll have the zivug. V'yad zeh yachzu panim b'panim lizavegam besod ner. So there's not the stage of panim b'panim. They are, so to speak, temporarily panim b'panim while they're up there with Abavima. And then there's the zivug of ner. You see the zivug of ner? That's the zivug of Zanuk, where in Chek Abavima. And he hasn't given her the kli yet. It's just the zivug. Zivug ner. We've talked about it many times, zivug ner, yeah? So, that is the zivug. Now he has to give her the kli barucha. So, if you have your own siddur, I'll make boxes, so you can separate the parts. So the first thing is v'lamshich mi'yisod dizali yisod dinuk et harayu atachton. Right, tachton is ab kedem. You can see it on the left. Yeah, you can see it. You have it. You have it.
Yeah.
Anyhow. So catch up.
Not sure if I'm ahead.
You're looking for a zivug ner and then rayu tachton. That is, if you just did this now, you can just read the after and go to sleep. Okay, because you've done it. This is it. This is it. This is the abkedem, right? He gave it to her. Now we've got all these wonderful things that are going to happen. Okay, and then there's a chazar, and then there's one sheet which is just a chazara of what it looks like. The most complicated of all the kavanot. So ner abkedem. Now we're going to play Harry Potter, L'Avdil. Yeah, we're going to play Moshe Rabbeinu against Balaam and all the witch stuff, right? Now that you've got this Rayu Tachton, you can go and play havoc with the other side, right? So first, now take the Kli Barucha Avima, right? And let's put it to work. Let's do something with it. We've got this koach now, right? Shu Gimel Ab that we mentioned before, the three abs, which was also with the Chamisha Gurot. This is the three abs is Rayu, right? Gematria Cherbo. So it happens to be that the same Gematria of Rayu is also Charbo. We got the Cherem now, right? Lachabad Yisodinuk, Le'alzeh Yechaven La'akor V'Lishabed HaCherem HaElyon De Klipot. take away the koch of the cherev of the klipot. Hakotzes vechotech et haneshamot hakedoshot. Right? So you can save all the people in these places where the Jinn are going over there. You can save all their neshamot from being destroyed just by taking their cherev. That's stage one. Stage two. That the power of Imaz, which is a high one, is to save Klal Yisrael. The second one, Shuribua Avaya, Pshuta Ribua Ben Yisod Denuk, which is a chiddush, because it's the Avkedem. Yeah, this is the same as before. Yes, Avkedem. Laharog et hakelev, the kalit keneged Yisod Denuk. There's a kelev, right, to get rid of the spiritual kelev as well. Now, גם יכוון להוריד הערה גדולה מן שתי החרבות, העליון ותחתון, both of them are there, the rayus and the avkedem, שהם בי פעמים rayu, the one of rayu עליון, which is 3 abs, and the rayu which is avkedem, שביסוד טעימה ביסוד דינוק, להשמיד ולהרוג ולאבד את כל הגופים הטמאים של הקלי שנעשו לבושים אל הנשמות הקדושה של השזל שלו ושל כל ישראל. You can save everyone else's Zera Levatala as well, because they ended up in Gufot Temeot. Chuck, right? It's unbelievable. Don't worry about all these extra. You read this tefillah, read this and read that. And just this is it. This is it. Yeah, it's nothing more powerful than this, right? Now, Rabotai, it says now more than that. Now, after you destroy the Gufot Temeot, now what happens to the tipot which is inside them? Now we have to bring them home, right? The Chatufim, we have to bring the Chatufim home, right? Can make big posters with all the names on them. This one, that one, that one. That day he didn't behave. He was use this one, use a phone. That one, use a computer. That one, use this one. That went to the wrong place. Yeah, be surprised what goes on when you're a rabbi. You find out things are terrible. Can't believe it. Like people in shuls and they come and they have a box and then people come and confess. But unfortunately, people get into trouble. They get themselves into trouble, and they somebody thought he's going to get arrested for I want to say for street curbing. He was worried about that. But she scammed him. She took all his money. Someone came to me recently. And he got scammed because the woman, he was vulnerable, and I don't know. She targeted him. She trapped him, right? So he thought she was a police officer and he's going to get arrested and his name's going to be ruined. But actually, she just scammed him. A guy waiting behind in the car to take the money off. She took his money and she ran away. Right? I said, Baruch Hashem woke you up to do tshuva. Like he saved you from the Avera, and you lost a bit of money, and now let's move on to do tshuva. Don't worry about the police, worry about this. You're the Shabbat, right? Hashem Yachem. Ve'la'alot hatipot. Now we can get the tipot back, the chatufim, right? Im hanaran shelo, even with meaning when you're now going to put your naran in the rechem of Nuk, because now she has the kli v'rucha, and you are part of that process of putting it into her Nuk, right? So you can step in all these tipot of other people as well. El toch mem de leolam. Right? Now we already said the mem of leolam and the va'ed with it, because there's certain gematria. You need va'ed. Without the va'ed, it will get stuck. These tipot will remain there forever, and then we'll be able to bring them home. Right? Shiur keli. The mem is the keli. Right? Shebetoch ha'yisod denuk dezah. Right? And it says over here, katuv b'sharuch hakodesh. Shebetchila holchim liyisod dezah. This is Torah Chacham. Right? In order for it to be able to go to Nuk, you can't just take it and put it in Nuk. It used to be in Zah, and he was Motzi Zera. You caused him to be Motzi Zera, the Zah Elyon to be Motzi Zera. In order to get, you have to put it back to him so you can give it B'Kedusha. He took it out B'Tumah. You can't take from the Tumah and put it into her. It has to go back to him first. Doesn't say over here, but for Sharach we know first you have to have a Chaven to send it to Zah, and then he'll give it back to her again. The Kedusha. Okay? I see the time, so I'm just going to end up. It's going to show you now there's these Kavanot. The rest now is like a screenshot of what's already happened. It's showing you that the Rayu and the Kriyat Tachton, Abkedem, are in the Shem Ben, which is a Livush, which is actually the Rucha of the Kriyat Rucha. And then you've got Yisod Dinuk, which has also the Tipot, which are the Mem, the Chat Petotiot, the Yetziat Avlad, and all that is in the Kriya Yisod of Nuk of Rachel, which is the 3 Shemot, you know what the Kelim look like. Right? That's what this is showing you. That already happened. So this is a summary of everything. And you can see what goes where and who goes in. I mean, look up, if you think that's complicated, look at my page. All the arrows, know where it goes. There's even a center of the Yetzirat Avlad, according to the Sfirot. There's 22 stages, 20, that's why the 22 letters. That's how you make the 22 lines between this, from the Ramak. Yeah, 22 lines, how the Vlad is formed into the shape of a guf, of the matkela, of the, Sigol, Sigol, Sigolta, the 10 Sfirot. It comes from the 22 letters which are here. So Baruch Hashem, we had a good overview. So again, there's a lot of information, but if you see how to take out the main part, which is really just this Ner and this Ab Kedem, right? That's the Kli Barucha. Everything else is all byproducts. Don't let the Yetzirah say, I'm going to do everything, and then you end up doing nothing. The most important thing is to do the main thing, and then add and add and add and add and get familiar with it. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, amen v'amen.